We have a saying here in the abundant mind that when you can change your mindset, you can change your world, you can change your reality. And we are honored to have an expert on human development, on human mindset, especially when it comes to being able to rebuild your relationship with money so you can create more of an abundance to it. I'm honored to have a good friend, a new friend that we're excited to build the future with, Carlo Chincarini. Carlo from Melbourne, Australia. Welcome, mate. Welcome.
Jakes, thank you so much for having me on. I am very excited to be part of this great community. I love everything about you. Love your energy. I love the way that you serve your people, and excited to bring some fire for the community.
Well, one of the things that I love looking at in history is, it's easy to look at the great names. You look at Alexander the Great, you look at, incredible, powerful people, Sir Winston Churchill, but there was always someone behind them that made them that way, a mentor they had. And your nickname that you've been given to by your clients, you coach high-end athletes, you coach, high-end, millionaires, billionaires, people to help change their mindset. And you've developed that nickname as the KingMaker. And I absolutely love that because you are the one who puts people in that spotlight to help grow their life. And you reflect all of that on them. Obviously, the credit goes to you for a lot of their success. But I love that thought. When did that really hit home, that nickname?
Yeah, thank you. It came about in a really bizarre way. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's in politics, and he said, because I was, when you start a business, there's that thing like I need to come up with a name. I need to come up with a name. What is it that I really do? And I'm someone that is really big around answering the question of, okay, what is it that you actually do? And I came up with this in conversation. I was just looking for it, and it actually just came out of nowhere. So it just really emphasizes what I do. I do like to take some credit, but I really enjoy actually putting people that are awesome at what they do and help them to succeed. Because whether it's in business, whether it's in sport, there are so many great people that have got the knowledge, have got the ability, but maybe they can't quite bring it all together and really elevate themselves to capitalize on that. And I love to just bring those people up and give them the things that I know they're not focusing on in order for them to succeed. So that's what it's all about. I don't think I'm better than anyone at what they do. And I say to, work with people, lawyers, and hey, I'm not here to tell you how to be a lawyer or how to be a head coach of a team, but I know that I can help you be the best that you can be. And that's what it's all about.
And that is why, you are a coach to several, high end, high net worth, incredible individuals. You have that gift of being able to see people for who they are. And you brought on a very important point. A lot of people look at the life of a hero. They look at a life, we have in common several of our mentors, that several of our coaches that we have in common, Dave Meltzer, being one of the most incredible people among them. And it's very interesting to see that a lot of people say, oh, I want that. I want to be that person, but they don't have the lifestyle. They don't have the same goals. They don't have the same experiences. And in order to become a certain person, you'd have to have the exact same life experiences. So when it comes to creating a relationship with money, what is one of the first things that you teach people first? It's not, it's a lot of people start running with their marketing before they even have a brand, before they even know who they are. And they never start here. They start running without, it's like we were playing ball the other day with my kids, and my son would try to, shoot the ball before he had the ball. We're like, no, you need to catch it, look, then shoot. And a lot of people are trying to shoot before they even have it. What do you counsel people who are at a level of life where they're achieving tremendous success, and they're at that level where they're thinking, what do I do next? What is one of the first things that you see that make people really like kings and queens, that really changes them to a whole new level of life? What is it that has to happen first before they get there?
Awesome question. Really, really, I wish more people ask this question. And my mind goes to two places. First, the first thing that I always do with people is say, okay, what do you want?
Boom.
Right? Like,
emphasis on you. What do you want?
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with you and me, Jake. It's got to be about the person, and say, okay, you are at this stage of life. Where do you see yourself in 12 months' time? And I've asked
Yes.
it so many times, pardon me, to know that even the people at the very, very top, we get stuck in this hamster wheel or just, oh, I want to grow my business. I want to make more money. I'm like, okay, totally fine. Why? What does that look like? Where do you see, literally, where do you see yourself in 12 months time? And most people lack that clarity, right? So if we start with clarity and say, okay, now, is it actually what you want, or is it just what you think you should want? Right. And it happens at every
Yes.
single level, right? What happens with people that are really high level? Let's say they've made multiple $1 million, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's just a higher level of the same basic things, right? So once we get that clarity, the second thing that I do, and I make this compulsory, mandatory for all of my clients, I actually take them through a reprogramming system that they have to do every single day. Right now, a lot of coaches go in and say, hey, we got to do all this strategy stuff, all these tactics, all these mechanics, do more of this, more of that. I make that a secondary objective, like a secondary step. The first thing that I really want to do is say, okay, let's reprogram your programming, your subconscious mind to take you so that you can be who you need to be in order to achieve the goal that we now have clarity around. Because
Yes.
we've been running this program of being a number of certain habits that we've been running, right, stuck in our own way, and we achieve success, and then we just keep doing the same little things that keep us in achieving certain kind of results,
Yes.
right? But if we want, and I think wanting more is great, right? Wanting to grow, it's life is a growth eccentric experience. There's always going to be more, and that's all good and well. But understanding the program, understanding what are our habits that have kept us achieving this, and if we want more, who do we then need to be in order to have those things? But it all starts with clarity, understanding,
Yes.
what is it that you want?
And that is so critical. A lot of times, you ask, my son and I, we went on a trip to California last week, and we were talking to everyone. I said, let's talk business to everyone you go to. So and we were at Disneyland, and I said, so talk to the Uber drivers, talk to everybody. And it was very interesting to see people that were so driven to see where they were in their life, and people who weren't asking open-ended questions. We asked our Uber driver, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, like, what do you make when you drive? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I said, oh, you don't know? He goes, no, I don't know. And he's like, but I want to be a millionaire. And so we actually started talking to him about mindset. Well, what do you want? Why do you want to be a millionaire? What type of lifestyle do you want? And then let's reverse engineer that. But what you just shared is so critical. A lot of us are in that hamster wheel, and they're spinning and spinning and making money. But the moment that they stop, if it's, especially if it's an active money cycle, they start losing and dying. So you have something that you've created and grown that is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to developing that mindset. Would you mind sharing that a little bit with us today?
Of course.
I know you
Yeah, for
divulged a
sure.
little bit, but
First of all, I watched your live video of the parade at Disneyland with my 5-year-old daughter. We loved it. So thank you for bringing us. Thank you for bringing us to Disneyland for a moment.
now is that Max or Scarlett?
That's Scarlett.
Oh,
Yeah,
Scarlett.
she was
Okay.
like, "Whoa!" So for a bit of that Disneyland magic back to home. So there is, and it's absolutely true. And there's so many different things that we could talk about this, but I use a lot of quantum physics and a lot of energy work in the work that we do. And based upon, so one of the quotes that Albert Einstein says is that everything in life is energy, and
Yes.
that is in. So if we want to create a
Science.
certain reality, all we have to do is match the frequency of that reality, and if you hold it, it will have to come to you. Right? There's no other way, and it's not just a philosophy; it's actual physics. So I actually had this sort of realization one day. We went and stayed in town at a hotel, and we've been going to this hotel for quite a while, right? And we started off from the bottom room all the way to the very, very top. And I realized something. I realized that hotel, that high rise, the principle is called the high rise of consciousness. And the idea is this: we are that high rise, and internally we have an elevator. And just like that elevator inside a hotel brings you on different floors, each floor has a certain reality to it. So if you step on the first floor, first room, still nice, right? But what is it? You look out your window, you open the the blinds, and you see the person in the building next door, maybe because if it's an office building, doing the emails, or if it's a hotel, in their underwear eating their cereal, right? And you hear the traffic below, you don't get any natural sunlight, and those are just the results and the reality of that floor. But let's say, Jake, you invest and you go into, say, level 25 or 50. All of a sudden, that level, that floor has got a different reality to it. You look out the window, you're now starting to get a bit better view. Now you see maybe the city around you, maybe the room is a little bit roomier, it's nicer, right? But if we take you and you invest a bit more and you take that elevator to the penthouse at the very top, the villas at the very, very top, right? Now that has a different reality to it as well. Now you get both the beach view and the mountain view. You get the city skyline. Now all the traffic and all the bottom level stuff that is there, you still see it, but you're unattached to it.
Right.
It's not part of your reality, right? Now let me ask you this. If you are that building, you are the high rise, and you have the internal elevator, which is your levels of consciousness, right? We all want the results of the penthouse. We all want that reality. But here's what we do. We live on a floor, on a consciousness, on a floor level of consciousness that often doesn't match that. So we look up, but we live down below. Now, we cannot get the results of that reality by living on floor 5. You can only get, based upon what Albert Einstein says, is that you can only get we reverse engineer, as you mentioned before, we can only get the reality that matches the frequency.
Yes.
So in the book Power versus Force, David Hawkins takes people through the map of consciousness, right? And it shows that different emotional states, different consciousness states calibrate at different levels. Only one person in history ever calibrated at level 1000. Plenty of others calibrated level 700, 900, 800, that kind of stuff, but only ever one in recorded history, based upon what we know and what was said and what was done, ever calibrated at complete 1000. I'll let you guess who that is, right? So all of us, right? Now you say, okay, what are those levels of consciousness, right? The lowest calibrated level of consciousness is level 200, and that is shame and guilt. Now let's think about it. If someone lives in shame and guilt on a consistent basis, their body language will be down. What kind of results would they create? Would they make a good entrepreneur? Not really, because if they're in shame and guilt all the time, all they want to do is hide from the world. What kind of results would they get? More loneliness, more seclusion, more scare, more of those kind of things on that frequency level. Yes. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, so how do we bring ourselves, our internal elevator, to the level up top? And how does this relate to business? It relates to business because business is an inside out process rather than an outside in. If you're living at the bottom, you think, oh, once I have those things up there, Jake, when I have $1 million, I will feel good. It doesn't work that way, does it? Because you get there and it's empty. Right? It doesn't work that way. So if we bring our elevator up and we live on the floors of peace, love, joy, confidence, serenity, certainty, power, right? Then what happens is that because now our internal elevator is there, we cannot help but get, if we hold it long enough, the results in the physical world external to the building, to that reality. Does that make sense?
You hit, I want to talk about a point for a second, if we can. You hit a point that's so critical that, there's danger in tomorrow, major danger in tomorrow. I mean, everyone says someday I'll do something, someday, but you know what? Someday's on nobody's calendar. You have to be able to act today, and you have to be able to put around you the right people. Proximity, what I have found, leads to one of the highest levels of success that I've ever seen. You want to be wealthy, hang around the wealthy people. You want to change your heart and mind, hang around people who are loving and forgiving and kind, people who don't get angry, because they understand that someone can't make me angry, only I can make that happen. But being, saying, and doing, I am a billionaire. Well, the check hasn't come quite in yet, but I'm still living that mentality and that lifestyle.
Right.
How many times do we hear people? I've heard a book. I read a book, and it was kind of over my head. And then years later, I read it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that I totally resonate. We've now changed our level of consciousness, our level of connection, the way we vibrate,
Right.
so that now we can now realize and recognize the things that were already around us. So it's critical that we go back and relearn those lessons, go back and look at those things. Because a lot of people say, this didn't work for me, so they just move on, as opposed to maybe I wasn't at quite that right level yet. Maybe I was looking at level 14, and I'm at level 3. So there's power in going back, but that proximity I found. So, I love that you shared that, that mindset of there's danger in when I'm there. There's danger in if I'm there, as opposed to I everything I have is within me. It's already here.
Yeah.
Then we have to now cultivate that by kind of doing what you're sharing now. But I love that thought.
Right. The other great analogy that I always use with people is you guys have greyhound racing in the States, right? Where you've got the dogs chasing the rabbit. I mean, if you ask an entrepreneur, if I were to ask you in that race, who are you? Are you the rabbit or are you the greyhound as you live your life today?
Yeah, my first instinct was say greyhound. And I'm like, no, I want to lead that pack. I want to be the rabbit.
Correct.
That's interesting.
So a lot of people, because you have an elevated mind, Jake, you read through that. But most people that answer that, if first instinct is I'm the greyhound, because I'm always chasing. I'm always chasing something. What am I chasing right now? Money, growth, clients, all that kind of stuff. Now, that game of greyhound racing was never designed for the greyhound to catch a rabbit until the race was done, was it? But do the greyhounds still enjoy the race? Of course they do. They're like, I'm ready to go again, right? Because they are in it for the chase, because they know that they complete. They complete without chasing something. How many business owners do we know that they're chasing the money? And then when they get the money, guess what? They're still empty inside, because what they were looking that was inside of them all along, they thought that it was external of them instead of realizing that it was actually there. And now if we have that mindset, we go about our business, about our work, knowing that, hey, we're complete. I am that I am. I am complete.
Yes.
Now I get to go and have that chase and enjoy it. And guess what? I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. And then because I'm enjoying, I'm in a higher level of frequency, I'm in a higher level, guess what I'm going to get? I'm going to get better results.
Yes.
Right? It's an inside job. This is an inside, business is an inside but when we look for the answer or for that complete feeling from the outside, that's when the game is out of whack and there is no fulfillment. And I know your mentors talk about fulfillment big time.
That's huge. There's we teach, and you and I both teach this. Our mentors and our coaches teach us and live this, that, we need to reward our neurology. Like when we've achieved a level of success, we've hit a goal, we've destroyed a goal, we need to reward our neurology. And it can be something that we instantly reward, or we say, okay, I'm going to take that trip. I'm going to buy that pair of shoes. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, right? So many people, they don't reward themselves once they've hit a level, because they're saying, I want that $1 million house. Well, dude, you just bought a $600,000 house. Now I'm not going to reward myself till I'm there. Will you talk on that a little bit? Would you talk about the mindset of being able to have happiness in the journey, happiness as you grow? Because no one goes from level 1 to 50 in one shot.
Right.
Would you mind talking about that journey that has to happen and how we can create levels to reward ourselves as we climb that ladder?
That's awesome. Great point to touch on. And it's really about living in a state of gratitude, right? Because again, the trap is that it's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. And then we subconsciously are living in a state of scarcity and lack.
Yes.
Right. I much rather live in a state of abundance, right? Which is actually seeing the abundance around me before anything else, right? I am abundant. Now, if we are abundant on the inside and we know that we are the abundance, I am the asset, I am the prize, I am the abundance, right? Then everything else out there kind of just goes, and now you can actually enjoy and being present, right? And now we bring in the power of the presence, power of gratitude. Now, one of the things that people don't actually, maybe the one thing that is not talked about as much, and I think is most powerful about gratitude, is that when you get into a state of gratitude, thinking about and visualizing what you want or about where you want to go to, and you feel grateful, the reaction, the chemical reaction within your body, it tells your mind doesn't know the difference between whether it's happened or not. So actually, it teaches your body that it's already happened. It's already there. It's already happened, and it connects you to that, and it attracts it to you a lot faster as well. And for a lot of business owners, because we pride ourselves, don't we, on being hungry, on being determined, of being hustlers, or just going for it, which is okay. It's healthy when it's in check. So if we have the
Yes.
balance of being hungry with also being extremely grateful and present and enjoying our life, then I think that's the combination that a lot of people are chasing that makes them really, really powerful.
I love that concept. One of the concepts that we've implemented in my, just personally in my life just recently is the thought that today's my new favorite day.
Mm,
So, patient is like, Doc, how you doing today? I'm like, you know what? Today's my new favorite day. She's like,
mm,
Wednesdays? I was like, no, like today. Like I'm
yeah,
grateful for today because,
yeah,
and we have great things coming up in the future, things that we look forward to, rewards that we've hit and that we're going to do with the family, personally, professionally.
yeah,
But I'm grateful for today because so many people lose, on their
mhm,
track to $1 million. They lose the thing along the way. Like one of the things that
mm,
we absolutely love and teach is respecting the money. A lot
mm,
of times when we turn our nose away at money, that's why I know you and I both do this. If we see a penny or a coin on the ground, we're picking that sucker up
mm,
because to
yeah,
God in the universe, it's either a penny or $10 million, and they're
yeah,
entrusting us with that. If
yeah,
we can't be trusted to pick up a penny, why would we be entrusted with $1,000?
correct.
Why would we be
Yeah,
entrusted to help people with tens of millions of dollars? Right?
mhm,
That mindset of respect and being grateful in the journey
mm,
and being aware. And once you start seeing that thing, you start seeing it everywhere. That abundance is
mm,
absolutely everywhere.
yeah,
Why would we ever ask for breadcrumbs
yeah,
in a
yeah.
in a in a universe where we could have absolutely everything we ever wanted? Why would we ask for breadcrumbs, right?
Absolutely love that. The other last thing I would touch on what we just spoke about is also the power of saying thank you to
Yes.
the circumstances that we don't want to thank. They were like, why is this happening? Right? I've made it a real habit of mine to, like, anytime I'm going through a challenge, I'm like, you know what? Thank you. Now that does two things: keeps you in a state of gratitude, but also reclaims your power. Because a lot of people are like, hey, I'm on, like you were saying before, hey, I'm only going to be happy when I'm at $1 million. But if life is a song and we just play for the last note and make it for an awful song, right? Life is meant to be played. Like it's the art of music. It's the art. You say I play music. Why don't we play life? Right. And I think if we use the strategy and the tactic of saying thank you to all the stuff that the perceived negative in our journey, because there's going to be a lot of perceived negative in our journey of entrepreneurship, building businesses, generating $1 billion, right? But I just feel more fluent and more empowered if I go, you know what, thank you for this. I don't know why it's happening. I know it's happening for me. I can't see it. Universe, life, God, whatever people believe in. But you know what, you got this. So you know what, thank you. Thank you. I'm actually really grateful. And all of a sudden, it's a switch, like immediate switch that brings power back to you. And you're like, I can get through this, or I can. It was always designed for me to get through it. So, a bit of a tangent there, but I hope that serves.
Gratitude and thankful, being able to express gratitude, being able to
Mm,
say what you are grateful for and thankful for is powerful because you start
yeah.
realizing that there's no trials, that there's lessons, right? And I love
Mm,
what you said that why is this, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? This is happening for me.
mm,
I'm not being punished. I'm being blessed. I'm being protected.
mm,
And
mm,
there's lessons to be learned. Carlo, what do you teach when you find someone who's at a tremendous level of success? What is the difference in people who are ultra successful, who literally can have and do anything they want? They could start a business in 90 days, make 1 million, make 10 million, make 1 billion. What is it in their mindset you see? Because they're working on the fundamentals like we're talking about here. They live
mm.
those. What is that extra sauce that you see with people who are now at that level where they're creating massive amounts of wealth, which then allows them to have freedom? What do you
Mm.
see as a commonality between them? or among them?
Yeah, it's a great question again. A lot of I feel like it really goes back to the programming, right? To having got to that level and then expecting that there's something there that maybe there isn't, right? Because they were looking for it in the wrong spot. The thing, hey, when I get to that, I'm gonna have a level of self-worth. I am gonna be who I want to be when I get to that. And it's really just bringing it back in. So of course, clarity, purpose, focus, personal standards, right? And identity. And actually just bringing that back in and realizing that you're not your money, you're not your business, you're not your achievements, you are you. And who is that at the highest level? Because again, we keep going back in and we go in deeper and deeper, and then does it get to the point of like, okay, what do you want to do with your money? Okay, awesome, that's great. Like, actually, because then we start tapping into the programming around money that usually has come from somewhere that is not quite fully theirs. So is it about giving? Is it about actually, legacy is an interesting one. Maybe we don't have time for it, but actually how you show up and how you live your life, that's your legacy, not the money that you leave behind, because that's temporary. That is going to, finish eventually, right? But going deep within and actually finding that fulfillment, finding that actual thing that lights you up inside, I think that's very, very important.
You hit what we hear. You hit what is constantly shared. There's not a secret. It's not like you get into this club and they're like, okay, by the way, here's the lottery ticket numbers. You get there, and every great basketball player, football player, soccer player, every great tennis, a sport, in wealth, in mindset, everyone goes back to the fundamentals of gratitude. And those who get to a high level and lose it. We were reading a book by Zig Ziglar the other day, and he said, it's interesting how we see people who really get on top and they don't stay on top. And typically we see them make major moral choices that are horrible. They then lose everything. They lose their wealth, they lose their families. And those that get it back are the ones who get founded on principles of truth, of kindness, of love, of gratitude, of changing their mindset, of going through and saying, okay, what do I have to do every day? I have to think every day. I have to plan every day. I have to be a student on my calendar. What do I want? Really laser focusing on what I want. Those are those fundamentals that people get to. And when you really focus on what you want and you cultivate a skill set that then allows that to become where you become, you have become a unicorn in this, where you are one of a kind and you are literally the kingmaker when it comes to being able to help people see their personal strengths, but we are still giving core values and helping them cultivate and amplify their strengths. What do you say to people? What do you say to to those who have successful businesses, who have very rich mindsets? What do you say to those who are feeling that burnout? There's reasons why obviously we feel burnout. We've lost connection to purpose. We've lost connection to our what, to our why, to our who. But what do you say to those who are at a super high level of success, but they're getting exhausted? What do you find the key problem to be with those individuals?
Often it's that this balancing side, right? The programming system that I mentioned before, right? It's designed to keep that elevator from the high rise of consciousness at a certain level. Now, having a North Star is important in terms of clarity where you want to go. But then it's about what's in touching distance, right? Because sometimes we have these big North Stars and we're like, oh, and this is, where I want to go. And you just almost freak yourself out. Now, with that burnout, I really feel that it's about finding that, I almost want to say, Jake, like staying true to you. Because sometimes when you're, maybe you lack a bit of that hindsight, and so you just start doing all sorts of different stuff. We move away from the basics. I feel like I'm the basics coach sometimes because I just talk about it. It's not sexy, but it works, right? And everyone, I mean, the reason why I'm probably struggling to answer the question, Jake, is because everyone struggles with something, and it's very individualized of why maybe the burnout is happening. Why are they off their game? What is the basics that they've let go of, right? Are they taking the time to actually sit and maybe focus on the stuff that is going their way? Maybe are they doing the stuff that actually matters, or are they getting caught up in all students of the calendar? Dave Meltzer talk, right? Maybe are they letting that go and they're not looking after themselves? I know that if I don't do my internal work, I get a sweat on of some sort, whether it's a sauna or a workout every day, I know I get off track and I'm not thinking as clearly, and I start doing stuff. And then 2 weeks later, because I'm all on ego, I'm all like, I'm just in by me. I'm just getting it done. Eventually that bandwidth wears down. And you're like, oh my God, like, where am I?
Yes.
That kind of stuff. So I make the internal work so important, because that's the ground. It grounds your energies. Just like when you have that clarity, you know, okay, what am I doing? I know where my time is going. I know where my money is going. I know how much money is coming in. That gives you clarity. And from that clarity, it grounds your energies, and you go, okay, now I know where things are at. Now I can come back into power. I can get back into that, on the throne in King Talk. Right?
And we've interviewed 3 other just high level individuals in the last week or so, and they all said verbatim what you just said. The fundamentals aren't sexy. Sometimes it's not sexy because people think that there's a secret sauce. That's why I wanted to reiterate that question 3 different ways, because you're teaching that truth. It's a business truth. It's a life truth that we have to go to those fundamentals, those core values, and we have to start like everyone else does. And some may have natural talent. You may have a natural ability to maybe, hey, I can jump to that level. I can learn my lessons, but there's always going to be lessons learned, and approximating yourself to those lessons. Surround yourself, right, with those books, with the people, with the mentors who are at a level. The fastest way to get to any destination is to ask someone who's already there for directions. So in closing, what do you share with people who say, all right, I am at a point right now where I don't have wealth. I don't have money. I don't even have my business, and I want to start. I want to start that path. What are the fundamentals of mindset? So how do we get a hold of you, number one, so you can help guide some of our, people from all levels of life? How does someone start? Where do we begin with our mindset? Where do we begin with changing how we think about money so that we can then attract more abundances of wealth?
Yeah. Amazing. So the first thing is, again, I'm sticking to what I do because I believe in it, right? And we'll go back to that programming. You start to reprogram. You start to actually, because Jake, and I know you know this, but your personality creates your personal reality. And people come to me and say, "Hey, Carlo, I want to move from my 9 to 5 into making money online." I'm like, well, awesome. I mean, you can go in and sell cat bowls on Amazon, which if you want to do that, you can. What I suggest is actually you become a person of value. So what one skill can you learn, right? What is something that you can now go and serve someone else, help them win? Now, what that's going to do, that's going to require obviously to have a growth mindset and say, okay, I know that, and the typical example is I can't afford it, right? I'm like, I know you can't afford it, but what can you do to create it, right? Because now it puts you on the attack, now gets you proactive. So learn a skill. And in order for you to do that, you need to realize that who you've been up until now, and I mean that, who you've been up until now has created certain results. So the person in 9 to 5 that creates that money, right, is a certain person, is a person that, rocks up 9 to 5, sits there, does the job, and goes home. That is not the person that is going to be able to create hundreds of millions of dollars. Who is that person? Start becoming that person. How do you become that person? You reprogram, rewire how you operate. The way that you think, act, and feel creates your identity, and your identity, your personality, creates your personal reality. Jake Henson is a successful man. Why? Because of the way that he thinks, acts, and feels on a consistent basis makes him who he is. right? Dave Meltzer is a successful entrepreneur because of the way that he thinks, acts, and feels on a consistent basis. Does Dave Meltzer think in the same ways that maybe a person that, a new coach or a new maybe entrepreneur or even a graduate doctor, do they think in the same way? No. Do they get the same results? No. Now, does that graduate doctor or graduate chiropractor want Dave Meltzer's results? Yes, no. If yes, then I will start thinking, acting, and feeling how Dave Meltzer thinks. So we pick that person, and because there is no secret, right?
Yes.
So that's the first thing. The second thing around money, money is one of the most triggering conversations, that and spirituality. And I talk about both of them. So freaking love it, right? But think about what comes up for people when they start thinking about money. Someone mentions that, someone's creating so much money, or, start actually selling yourself for money. Then we'll see who the confident people are and what your money programming is like. So understanding that your beliefs about money, about yourself, about life in general are not your beliefs is key. Because so many people think, oh no, this is my life, Jake. I own it. I'm my own person. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we start asking them okay, what are your beliefs about this, this, and this? And and they answer it. I'm like, okay, cool. Where did you learn that? Oh no, they're my beliefs. I'm like, well, really? Or was your mom and dad, was your society, was your family, was that Auntie Suzanne that was in a certain way around money? And maybe she was extremely successful and lost it all. And now you're afraid to jump into business because, hey, I have this subconscious belief that if I'm successful, I'm going to lose it all. So is it, Johnny, are these your beliefs or are they Suzanne's beliefs? Right? 3 greatest days of your life. The quote that says there's 2, missed one. And I challenge it. The day you're born, the day you find your purpose or that you choose your purpose, and the day that you choose your own beliefs. That's the day that you actually start living your own life, right? Little thing like that. So that's where I would go. Become a person of value. Learn it. You can become that, right? You can learn almost anything. It's just a required time and their necessary effort. That's all it is. And if people are prepared to go through that, the world is their oyster, because it's been proven by people that have done exactly the same thing time and time and time again.
That principle you taught cannot be underestimated. That when you can create value, when you are a person of value, when you can solve people's problems, they will pay you handsomely for it. We've never seen, we in history, we never saw more millionaires than we did during COVID. COVID produced more millionaires. The Great Depression produced, at that time, tons of millionaires up until to that point. No one had created that type of wealth because people learn to create value for others, and on a small level, I'll go to some of our, I have a local business and I have some, global businesses and whatnot. And it's interesting on a small level and on a global level, I'll go to a meeting with a couple hundred people and you see people that are walking around with their cards just literally puking their cards on people, not creating any value. As to a few people who come and ask open-ended questions. Yeah. And people who've done their research. I love when someone comes up to me and goes, oh, you're Dr. Jake Hansen. I enjoy your podcast. I enjoy this. I see these miracles you get, that are coming out on, with your patients. So I love what you're doing here. Love what you're doing there. Hey, would it be helpful? I have this connection in your realm. Do you have that connection? Would it be helpful if I made that connection for you? Oh my gosh, that would be great. People are giving before they're receiving. And that's the difference. And then on a global level, I see that where we constantly get asked by others where we have a lot of bleeders, a lot of feeders. So become a feeder, become someone who you create value for. And watch as you solve people's problems with the thing that brings you joy, that you become an expert at. That is where liberation, that is where liberty, that is where freedom, that is where abundance comes from. Live in abundance, live in gratitude. Carlo, we're so honored to have you on with us. We're going to put a link, obviously, the link right below Carlo right now. That's where you can find him. We got his website, his social media handles. Follow him. He is a servant first. He will add value to your life. ask questions, take him up on it. He is serious. He will spend some time with you, being able to communicate with you and to help you solve your problems. Carlo, thank you for being on with us today, for teaching these incredible lessons. And I can't wait to see my level, my consciousness get to that highest level possible, the high rise. Thank you.
Awesome, Jake. Thank you so much.